Is the recent uptick in crime and violence across the country real, or is it cap perpetuated by the media? Mm-mm-mm. Welcome to another episode of Jump Off Live. I'm yours truly, Jeff A. Smith, joined by a few other members of Team Jump Off. We have JD and Johnny Dangerous in the place to be. What's good, fellas?
What's up? What
What
up, man?
up?
Good to see you all on here again. All right, so I'm kicking over to JD. He's going to kind of level set what we're talking about today.
Yeah, it's something that I've seen discussed a ton currently in the media, and it seems as though we go on a cycle where you talk about certain things and then they kind of fade away for a little bit, and you talk about them again and they fade away a little bit. And it seems like we're in one of those current cycles now where the quote unquote violent crimes in the United States is on the rise. Contrary to what statistics say, that violent crime is on the rise as being portrayed by the media. Um, and I just find it interesting that that sort of level of fear mongering still goes on. And a lot of times I question why that happens. Like, why do they want, why do they want us to live in fear? And why do they want us to feel as though, violent crimes are increasing? And yeah, they may be increasing year over year, but if you look at historical data and you go back to the 90s, there was a lot more violent crimes back during that decade as opposed to the 2000s and the 2010s and now where we're at in the 2020s. So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting topic because a lot of times I feel as though these things are slanted towards in a negative towards minority neighborhoods, cities, and people. And that you see these articles and stuff and you see these videos. And I saw a video on CNN.com 3 days ago. And just because I pay attention to things like that, when they start talking about violent crimes, you saw a lot of black faces, whether it was victims, whether it was the people that were perpetrating these crimes, even the reporters were black. And I find that these types of things are not by accident. And there is that level of fear mongering that I feel as though the media tends to portray, and they put these things out there. So me being the inquisitive person that I am, I wonder why. And sometimes I have topics that I bring up in our group chats, and honestly, I don't have an answer. I would love to. I just want to talk about it. I just want to discuss it, and I would love to hear what you watching right now have to say about it as well. So we can start with the fellas too, man. Jeff, what do you think, sir?
Yeah, I walk away from stuff like this with typically having more questions than answers. I think that in the day and age we live in, this stuff drives ratings. That's why it's on every single news channel. I'm addicted to watching nightly news and stuff like that. So I always watch the news to keep up with what's going on. But I think it really boils down to this is what drives uh, ratings on television, because if people weren't glued to their TVs watching these types of stories, then they wouldn't be put out there as much, because again, the goal of media is to gain attention. So you command people's attention by these stories that are being put out. It's definitely not a level playing field. We all know that crime is committed across various races and economic backgrounds, not just the quote unquote hood or the ghetto, or with black or brown people, whatever the case may be. So I definitely think there is a slant there, negatively slanted negatively towards people of color. It's been going on that way for a while. That juxtaposed with the fact that, like you said, there's historically, if you look at, from a decade perspective, crime is actually going down. I don't really have a problem with crimes being reported on, but I would prefer for it to be a little bit more of a level playing field, and painting a realistic picture of what's going on out there. Because if you watch the news, at least where we at in Illinois, for example, if you watch the news, you would just think there's pretty much only black and brown people out there committing these violent crimes, and that's it. And that's not fair. So
Yeah, man. In the great words of Bernie Mac. Enough said. I mean, that's the truth, folks. The media has a history. Well, let's talk about what the media does. The media basically presents information, whether it be true or false, to generate ratings. And we know ratings equal to capital. So who's getting the information first? Who's broadcasting it the best is going to draw the most attention, which will ultimately cause that particular media realm to make more money. So that's what it boils down to. Now, is there truth in it? Yeah, there's truth in it, but there's quite a bit of cap that's been going on. It's been going on for a very long time, and we just have to be wise enough and smart enough to realize what's true and what's false, and realize that crime and poverty touches all races, religions, creeds, ethnicities. And so don't believe the hype. That's a real saying.
Yeah. I think that people just need to make sure that they understand. And I fall victim of this myself too. When you watch the news, that's only part of the picture. A lot of people think if you watch the news, that's everything that's going on right now. That's only a piece of the puzzle. So take that, but realize that's a part of what's going on. Just like on the news, you don't really see like the feel good stories make up about maybe 2 or 3 minutes out of the whole hour of the news or whatever. But there's a lot of feel good and a lot of positivity going on out there. But you
At the
don't see
tail
that.
end.
Yeah, but you don't see that. But it's I firmly believe there's a lot more good going on, in this world than there is bad. But let the media tell it, it's doom and gloom for everybody. So just realize that's just a piece of the puzzle. That's not the entire picture, folks.
Right. And one of the things the points that I was making, and like there was a different article, I'll let everybody behind the curtain a little bit. There was a different article that I posted in our group chat that we were discussing, trying to decide on show topics for this week. There was a different article. And this article that I have from the BBC that I put up on the screen right now, this article was something that I found literally about 3 minutes before, we started. And if you look at like it makes my point. Like, and like I said, it's so unfortunate that even that the BBC has an awesome section of their website called Reality Checks, and they fact checked a lot of different things. And this article basically busts down all of that, all the information that shows, or that the mass media is putting out there, saying that violent crimes are on the rise, and they may be on the rise, but if you compare it to historical data, it is nowhere near what it used to be before. But to make my point, brown face, brown head, stat, brown face. Like it is mind-boggling to me that this is what's out there. This is what even the BBC, on an article where they're debunking something, they're putting this out there like that. And you cannot think that anything that the media does or that's on television is by accident. This is not by accident. You could have just as easily put a police officer of any other race on there, but you decide to do this. So even in the context of these officers that you see on here, that are officers on the scene with a crime, it's a brown face.
True.
And I mean, like, it's those sort of subliminals. Like, oh, it's their problem. It's their cops that have to deal with that. And I think that those types of things, and I don't care if YouTube censors us or we don't hit the right algorithm with this, but this is the type of information that people need to know, and that these types of things are out there. I would love to take a deep dive into the type of information that is put out there, and the reasoning behind it, and the reasons that our news is filtered through a white lens as opposed to a lens of every color. Yeah, it's kind of sad when you look at it like that. But I think it's our point, or my big point in this is, you just have to recognize it. You have to understand it, take the information for what it is, and not let that portray or not let that impose any sort of prejustifications. I think a lot of people can see certain things on the news and they just take that to heart. Like, that's it. It was on the news, or I read it on Facebook. It's there. So that's what I believe.
Yeah.
And I ask people to go out there and do your own research. You should do your own research for just about anything and everything. Now, that doesn't mean that Facebook is where you need to go for your research.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen to doctors, that you shouldn't listen to the news. No, you need to take all these things together, weigh them, and then make your decision up from there. But just know that sometimes the media portrays things in a definite slant, and it's not slanted towards people of color in a positive light, at least.
Facts.
I have nothing else to add to that. What about you, John?
Nope.
Hey, audience, like and subscribe, man. Smash that subscribe button, as we say. If you like this content, make sure you comment. Also, we want to know your thoughts on this. You may agree with us. You may be in total disagreement with us. We welcome any and all feedback here on Jump Off Live. Yeah, so we'll definitely see you all on the next episode. Until then, peace and love.
Jump off.
Jump off.